And we continue at 2:06 in the afternoon on the John Phillips Show. Mr. Randy Wings in Culver City.
John, if you look at our email bag, you see several of our listeners are now doing the investigative work to find out how legit the education credentials are for the vice mayor of Cudahy, Cynthia.
Fighting our turf.
I'll tell you, just when you think you haven't heard it all, a duly elected vice mayor of a city in California is now calling on the gangs to go fight the feds.
Fighting our turf.
Our turf. Sounds like a seal.
She sounds like she's drunk in the bleachers at Dodger Stadium.
It looked like she was at some kind of event, and I guarantee, just by her demeanor, there was a little sauce.
Fighting our turf.
800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. It is our pleasure to welcome our next guest to the program. He is a senior fellow at the Hoover Institution at Stanford University. He's also author of the book, The End of Everything, How Wars Descend into Annihilation, available online at Amazon.com. Victor Davis Hanson, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Victor, if you read these books that are out now about the 2024 election and the cognitive decline of Joe Biden, Fight was my favorite one, but Jake Tapper has one, and so do others. The point that they make in terms of why Kamala Harris lost is the same, which is basically she never gave voters a reason for running. She was the candidate because Joe Biden dropped out of the race and the Democrats needed one, and there wasn't time to have an open primary so they could select someone with more electability. To that point, you just put out a video online about the Democratic Party as it stands today and the incoherent chaos and nihilism that they are putting out there. Those are your words. Here's what you said. You said, if there's one thing we learn from the mass No King demonstrations, anti-ICE riots, and blanket opposition to the Israel-Iran war, it is that the opposition party has no real concrete alternative plans to Donald Trump's agenda. It sounds like what you're saying is that this party has learned absolutely nothing from losing the last election. Is that right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, they did it before in 72 when they went lunatic left with McGovern, but they did learn a little bit. They nominated somebody with a Southern accent, Jimmy Carter, and then he reverted back, and they didn't quite learn because he went full McGovern, and then they lost for 12 years. And finally they said, you know what? It's been 20 years since McGovern, and we just had one anemic 4 years, so we're going to go with Bill Clinton. And I don't know whether he was liberal or what, but he feigned, if you remember the Sister Soldier moment, 100,000 police officers, secure borders, he went full, pretty much what a Republican was at the time. He wasn't much different in his rhetoric, at least. So they did that, but they're not doing that now, and they're making no effort. So they're getting... What they're doing is two things. They feel that nobody wants their message, not the transgendered message, not the Kabul message, not the defund the police message, not the Green New Deal message, none of it. Anything. And in lieu of that, they think, well, how do we have power? Well, one of them, the idea was to open the border and bring in 10,000 people a day that would grow the administrative state entitlement and become mail-in voters pretty quickly, they thought. And the other was, well, we have the institutions. We have academia, the corporate boardroom, popular culture, K through 12, the media. So we can influence people and retain power even if we don't. We have the courts. So maybe we'll lose the Senate, the House, the presidency, the Supreme Court. But, boy, if we have the district judges and we have the bureaucracy, even if it's run by Trump, we can subvert it. That's what they're doing. And it's all gets down to the idea that they're controlled by a lot of very elite, wealthy people and a lot of subsidized poor, and there's nobody in between. There's no middle class and that wants them, because their message is basically, the hell with you. We don't care about the price of gas. We don't care if you can buy a house. We don't care if your streets are safe. We don't care if your daughter should have a fair chance of. We don't care about any of that. We're more interested in 0.001% of the community, the transgendered community, or we're more a bunch of very wealthy people who claim they're DEI. They say I'm Chicano, or I'm black, or I'm this, or I'm that, but they're all the same as their wealthy white counterparts. They're all entitled and they're all arrogant. And what's happening is especially males, the black males, but especially Hispanic males, are kind of right where the people of East Palestine are. The white male, they're all kind of Trump. That was the one thing he did that they couldn't figure out. He substituted race and tribe for class. So he's creating a middle class Republican Party that is inclusive, and they can't fathom that. And that's why they're losing. And they never seen a Republican who some of the unions like, but Wall Street hates, or Hispanic males in some are more favorable to Trump. That out, but it's because he addresses middle class needs, and he talks like a middle class person.
If I'm connecting the dots correctly here, and maybe I'm reading too much into this, and correct me if I'm wrong, but if this is a political party that has a distribution model where they have space on the ballot, real estate on the ballot, they have state parties, they have everything that goes along with being a large national party, but they have no message, it seems like they are a party that is ripe to be overtaken by an outsider. Like the Democratic establishment is going to lose control over who their nominee will be in 2028. Do you see that happening?
I see it happening at some point. I'm not sure it's going to happen. I think the strategy, what they're doing now, if you take a nincompoop, which he is Gavin Newsom. So he was going, he got the message, and he was faking it out like he was going to be a moderate, like Steve Bannon and Charlie Kirk, and he was talking to Trump. Then somebody slapped him around and said, Gavin, that's for the general election. When you fake it to the center, you can't get nominated. You're only polling at 4%. So you've got to double down, and you've got to attack Trump, and you've got to threaten the Washington you're not going to send them their taxes, and you've got to get in a fight over the National Guard, and you've got to protect the people on the street that are waving Mexican flag. That's your constituency. It gets you nominated in this lunatic. And that's what he's doing. But sure as the sun rising, he's never going to be nominated. But if he were nominated, then he would try to kind of go like Kamala Harris. I really kind of sort of was for fracking. I kind of sort of never opposed deportation. But they're not there yet where you're going to get a genuine Bill Clinton person that sounds sane. They're just not there yet. And I think part of their problem is that they went so far into race and tribe and this community and that constituency and the black, and they didn't look at class. And a lot of people said, wait a minute, Joy Reid, The View, these people aren't oppressed. They're better off than 99% of Americans. What are they whining about? So every day, the Democratic Party, Jasmine Crockett says, all these old white men, and Wookie Goldberg says the next day, we have it worse than people in Iran that are thrown off, off buildings if you show your face. And then the next day, you've got Padilla staging this psychodrama and crying on TV, and that doesn't appeal to anybody. It's just theater. And these are all privileged people, and they're all posing in some way. Whoopi Goldberg is a victim, and that's not true. She makes millions of dollars a year for spouting nonsense. So it's kind of a culmination of a lot of stuff that's been building up. When you go down that road and you judge people by the color of their skin and not the content of their character or who they sleep with or their gender, and you create these ossified groups, and then you think you're going to pile them all together to get a majority. It doesn't work. People are people. They have other interests beside the way they look, and they're interested in inflation, gas prices. Can they afford a house? They look at some place like California, and the answer is no. But I think they're sitting on a volcano, and I don't know if it's going to destroy them in the midterms or not. But boy, and they have a lot of advantages because I said they control all the institutions. They have the big money. They have a lot more money than the wealth in this country is center left now. It's not like the old days where it was Republican. It's tech money, finance money, insurance, law, media money, and it's much bigger than agriculture or construction or mining or even oil. So that's who they are, and that's what all the money and the institutional support in lieu of support.
We're speaking with Victor Davis Hanson, author of the book The End of Everything, How Wars Descend into Annihilation. I want to piggyback on a point that you made earlier, talking about DEI and the identity politics that they're now obsessed with. You go back and you look at the old-timey lefties, whether you're talking about all the way back, I guess you could go to Karl Marx and others, or you go to Upton Sinclair, who ran for governor here in California on the End Poverty in California platform. And the terminology that they would use, and you could trace it all the way through maybe the 60s or 70s or even 80s, they talked about things in terms of class. It was always the proletariat and the bourgeoisie. And class was always what they would fall back on and the terminology that they would use. And then at a certain point, they stopped talking about things in terms of class, and everything became race. Everything is racial to them. If you're talking about farm futures, there's a racial angle to it. You can't talk about anything without a racial component existing in their minds. And then at a certain point, they threw in the pronouns, and they just keep adding on top of it. And whether they know it or not, but the language that they're using is exclusionary. I have relatives in my family who are essentially blue-collar young guys, nephews and people like that. And they're not political people. They're not reading the Wall Street Journal in the morning. They're not watching the cable news shows at night. They usually don't vote. But they came out and they voted for Trump in the last election. And when you talk to them about it, they'll tell you they know the other side doesn't like them. They're aware of that. Out of all the noise that exists in the world, that cuts through. If you're a straight white guy, which is the relatives I'm talking about, they know the other team despises them. And when you know the other side despises you, it makes it real easy for even non-voters to come out and say, all right, you don't like me, I don't like you.
That's exactly right. Absolutely. And what's even more interesting is you're starting to see non-college young Hispanic males who are voting for Trump because they get the impression that the people in their own community hate them too, that are the legislatures, the media people, the elites. They're just like their white counterparts because it is starting to become a class thing that transcends race. And you can see it everywhere. I mean, we were told for 4 years that we're 50,000 troops short in the military, and it has nothing to do with DEI or race or anything. All it has to do with is everybody's too fat, or there's too low unemployment, or they're gangs, or they're on drugs. And then Trump comes in and Hegseth comes in and says there's going to be no more Lloyd Austin, Mark Milley investigations into non-existent unicorn-chasing white privilege, white race, white supremacy. We're done with that. The report came out. They didn't find any white supremacy cabal, like they said. And we're not going to have women get one standard for combat physicality and one for men. And we're not going to have transgender this and all that. And then all of a sudden, there were 45,000 people join the military in the greatest monthly surge in history. And what the Pentagon didn't tell you was that you can find it. You can look at the demographic. That new 45,000 was about 80% white males, and they constitute about 35% of the population. And what was even weirder is if you go deep enough and you look at the dead in Iraq and the dead in Afghanistan, and the Pentagon has it got data on everything: age, male, race. They don't like to broadcast race, but you look at it, about 73% in Iraq and about 75% in Afghanistan who were killed combat deaths were white males. That was double their numbers in the demographic. So here you have the Biden administration targeting that group that they have relied on for Korea, Vietnam, Gulf War, Iraq, Afghanistan. That one particular rural white male, middle class poor, who will go to god awful places for you in Helmand Province, Fallujah, you name it, and volunteer for combat. They deliberately went after to, oh, you didn't get a vaccination, you may have COVID 4 times and you're out. 8,500, bam. Oh, we think you're a racist. Oh, we're not going to promote you because of your skin color. And they left. And then they were short. Where I work at the Hoover Institute, there's a lot of generals and admirals, and I'd have these arguments with them. And they would not admit that was the reason. And then suddenly, when you got rid of that obstacle of race and you treated people fairly, that demographic that was so essential, everybody knew it, to U.S. combat ethics, it came right out of the woodwork, and they're coming in droves now. And the left can't handle it. So, yeah, that whole group of white male, especially rural and in red state white males, but not always, people in Madera, people in Bakersfield, that type of white male, they feel that the system hates them. And they feel that white male elites who are wealthy and privileged and feel guilty about that use them and point to them and say, white racism, we're not that way, but they are. And then they ingratiate themselves with similar people of the same top elite class who are black or Hispanic or Asian. They're all the same, but they say, we're fighting white racism, you should like us. We're not like most white people. It's those people in, Provo, Utah. Those are the enemy. And people caught on to that. And they said, we're sick of you people. We're sick of deplorables, irredeemables, clingers, chumps, garbage. We've heard it all before. And they showed up at the polls, like you said.
Victor Davis Hanson, Senior Fellow at the Hoover Institution, author of the book, The End of Everything, How Wars Descend into Annihilation, available online at Amazon.com. I could talk to you all day, but thank you so much for stopping by. We so appreciate your time.
Thank you.
It's the John. If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, you're monitoring the mailbag.
Mike writes in at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com on stupid UC students in the 90s. Hey, JNR, I attended UC Santa Cruz in the early 90s. I think I was there just after fake Dr. Babs. There were plenty of dumbass students that gravitated towards the social sciences, especially the various ethnic studies majors. I was opposed to critical race theory back then. It seemed the only criteria required for those majors was being a Marxist. I mostly majored in surfing.
Let's listen to the vice mayor of Cudahy.
Here we go.
Not for nothing, but I want to know where all the cholos are at in Los Angeles. 18th Street, Florencia. Where's the leadership at? Because you guys are all about territory, and this is 18th Street, and this is Florencia. You guys tag everything up, claiming hood. And now that your hood's being invaded by the biggest gang there is, there ain't a peep out of you. It's everyone else who's not about the gang life that's out there protesting and speaking up. We're out there like fighting our turf, protect.
So the vice mayor of Cudahy wants the gangs to come out and fight ICE in the streets. Your reaction to that at 800-222-5222, 1-800-222-5222. The vice mayor of Cudahy went on social media and said she wants the street gangs to fight the streets with ICE.
Fighting our turf.
What say you at 800-222-5222, 1-800-222-5222. Let's begin with John in Long Beach. John, hello.
Gentlemen, good afternoon. Well, I'm old, okay? And when I was a kid, you used to be able to buy Bazooka Joe bubble gum. You probably don't remember that. But inside that package, there was a comic. And if you got the little comic and you got so many of them and you sent them in to redeem your prize, you got a prize. So I'm thinking she probably got it that way. or possibly out of a box of Cracker Jacks. What do you think?
Well, that would certainly make sense.
Because listening to her talk, she doesn't sound like she was studying too much at school. Oh, she also forgot to mention the down-ass kids that need to come from L.A. down there, too. Forgot to mention those.
The neighborhood kids, the down-ass kids don't like it.
Thank you for the call, sir. We appreciate it.
Fighting our turf.
Let's go to Jeff at Encino. Jeff, hello.
Yeah, hi. Just like with the mayor of the Lancaster that wants the homeless to do fentanyl, yeah, I would encourage the gangbangers to take on the ICE, and they wanted to do it while the Army is in town.
Yeah, I don't think it'd work out too well for them.
It would save us money on, Fourth Amendment rights and due process costs and incarceration and stuff like that.
All right. Thank you for the call. Let's go to Steve in West L.A. Steve, hello.
Steve.
Going once, going twice. No, Steve. Let's go to Kevin in El Dorado Hills. Kevin, hello.
How you doing?
Good.
Hey, well, first of all, I'm a UC Berkeley grad, and I have two daughters that I would never let them touch foot on campus if they got accepted there. So that's number one. Number two, that gal is a pretender. She's another Jasmine Crockett. Those gangbangers wouldn't give her 2 minutes, and the gangbangers want nothing to do with any of this stuff. She's fake. She talks fake. She's a pretender. She's lived a sheltered life with all that education a little bit, just like Jasmine Crockett. They're fake, and the gangbangers know it. I'm more of a gangbanger than she is. I'm a white Irishman from San Leandro next to Oakland.
You know what? If I had to lay money down, I would say you're right. She seems like a faker. She seems like a pretender. Jasmine Crockett was a great example. She came from a privileged background as well.
Correct.
And this is what they think plays in that world. This is what they think will make them a star on social media and will make them a star on all the cable news programs. And it only makes them look like buffoons.
Oh, God. Yeah. Well, let her go walk and talk to these guys, the gangbangers. I mean, they wouldn't give her 2 minutes, man. Anyway.
All right. Thank you for the call, sir. Let's go to John in L.A. John, hello.
Hey, how are you guys?
Good.
Thank you for bringing Victor Davis Hanson on the show. Finally, somebody with common sense.
Yeah, he's great.
And the caller that just called in right now, so what do Jasmine Crockett, Kamala Harris, and Meghan Markle have in common? High ego and low IQ. These are the stars of the left.
All right. Thank you for the call, sir.
I thought he was going to do his Gascon impression.
Well, when he started with that joke, I was just hoping you had your finger on the dumb button because I didn't know where it was going. Let's go to Paul in San Francisco. Paul, hello.
Yes, I think there's a certain irony that many members of the National Guard and many members of ICE are Latino, but maybe they think of themselves as American citizens defending the country compared to some of the other people.
You're 100% correct. And when people think about the LAPD, for example, as an organization, they usually think about it in terms of what was depicted on television in the 50s or 60s. They don't think about the organization as it exists today. In fact, I think within the LAPD, there are more Latinos than any other race. It is a largely Latino organization now, and I would imagine that many of these other agencies that you're referring to, whether it be ICE or Border Patrol or the LA County Sheriff's Department or the California Highway Patrol, I bet you they have similar demographics to the Los Angeles Police Department. So when these people are vilifying these agents as being unredeemable racists, in many cases, you're right. They are talking about Latinos. They don't know what they're talking about, and they don't care.
And the race card's the easiest card to play. Just like people played the communist card in the 50s, they play the race card today.
You're correct, sir. Thank you for the call. Let's go to Mike in Vallejo. Mike, hello.
John, how you doing there, brother? Thanks for taking my call. I appreciate it. First of all, like I said, I'm calling from Vallejo, so if I could do it in the voice of Butters from South Park, I'd say, do you know what I am saying? Randy Dillon there.
I say that all the time.
I do it at work all the time. People think I'm retarded. That's okay. So anyway, I want to touch on something Mr. Hanson talked about with the recruitment, with the DEI, with the jab. And let me give you proof of that. I'm a veteran. Raised my son by myself. He went in the Army. He's a veteran. He got out when they forced him. He didn't get kicked out. He was going to ETS, but he wanted to re-enlist. When they said, no, you have to get the jab, he said, absolutely not. I'm leaving. That being said, he is at the Met station right this second taking a physical now. And let me tell you what he's given up. He was working at Chase Bank. He was doing very, very well. He's not doing great for California standards, but for a kid of his age, he was doing all right. He's throwing all that away because now he doesn't have to put up with the same things that he was putting up with before, now that Pete Hegseth is here, now that Donald Trump is here.
Well, that is reflected in the numbers, because what Victor David Hanson talked about, the numbers that have just exploded in recent months, say that the people who were being excluded from the military for one reason or another now have gotten the message that they're welcome back, and they're running to those recruitment centers and not walking.
And he is, because like I said, he was going to re-enlist. He had already been deployed. You know, a lot of his buddies stayed in and suffered. I wouldn't say suffered, but decided they were going to get the job and go forward. And I know you guys are busy. I'll just close on this. Randy, I'll tell you something. Some of us people in Vallejo, some of us veterans, we look after our turf.
Thank you for the call.
Fighting our turf.
Our turf.
Let's go to Josh in Pico Rivera. Josh, hello.
Hi. Listen, this thing about this vice mayor in Cudahy saying those things. I mean, she's not the first one. I mean, think about it. We had Maxine Waters a while back was telling people that if you saw anybody with a MAGA hat to go after them, push them out of the restaurant, if you see them at a gas station, run them away, chase them out, get rid of them, this kind of stuff. She was the first one doing that. She's on Spectrum News being interviewed the other night by the one-sided network, and she's calling Trump a murderer, a warmonger, a violent man, and she's the one that incites riots and all, and says she didn't see any violence. This mayor who's asking for the gangs to root up, I mean, she's not the first one to do it. I mean, is this a denizen of the Democratic Party?
Well, she is an elected Democratic office holder, that is for sure.
That's true. And then when you hear on the media, you never hear any of the good things that come out of some of this stuff. It's all, like you said, one-sided, left-wing, anti-Trump, anti-Republican, anti-Christian, all of this stuff, And you look at the media, look at Hollywood. And Maxine Waters is a prime example. That old lady should have retired 25 years ago, and she's still there, along with Nancy Pelosi. I mean, wow. If we ever needed term limits, now is the time more than ever.
I think Maxine is now 86 years of age. Thank you for the call, sir.
Fighting our turf.
Let's go to Kevin in Upland. Kevin, hello. Kevin, are you there, sir? Going once, going twice. No Kevin. Scott in San Jose. Scott, hello.
Scott's gone too. How about Ken in Studio City? Ken, hello.
Hi, guys. John, do you mind if I change my comment from what I told the call screener?
It depends.
Why don't you screen it with us first, and we'll see if it's good on the air. So
Randy,
what do you want to say?
Always helpful. Okay, you're always helpful, and I appreciate both of you. Anyway, I was thinking about the Hispanics in California, and I see a split, a very clear split. When I listen to the LA Hispanic Republican Club and I see Hispanics who have been here and are successful and they're hardworking, they're business owners, they're members of the military, their sons, their grandsons enlist in the military, they're loyal to America because they feel that they are Americans. But I see here in the San Fernando Valley especially, I drive around a lot. I have business all over the valley, and I see a huge number. I don't know what the split is in percentage, but I see a huge number of recent immigrants, of course the illegals, but recent immigrants and even citizens who, like the vice mayor of Cudahy, they feel more loyalty to the country that they came from or their race than they do this country. So I think that there's a very serious split in the Hispanic culture and community, and I don't know what side's going to be more powerful. It seems to me that the side that is more powerful is the side who has loyalty to the Hispanic nations that they came from. That's my comment.
So that's what you want to say on the air?
Yeah, now that I've screened it, Randy, what do you think?
I think go ahead and say it. Yeah, go for it.
Thanks. Take care.
Thank you for the call, Sarah. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, you're monitoring the mailbag.
Mike writes in at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com and says, I just finished mowing my turf.
Fighting our turf.
Okay. During the commercial break, Barbara Ferrer just put a tweet out that is so unbelievably filthy, I can't read it on the air.
Yeah.
I can't even describe to you the warning that she has for the public.
I've been trying to figure out how I can describe this without being just as vulgar and repulsive as her. And this is the best I can come up with. Barbara Ferrer is obsessed with playing the back nine, and she's not a golfer. Can you read between those lines? Filthy, filthy, filthy woman.
And this, of course, all comes from the Twitter account that still blocks people from replying to it or commenting on it.
All right. Maybe we'll have more on that tomorrow. Maybe we won't. Depends on the taste level we're willing to go with.
We'd have to work real blue just to read that tweet verbatim.
All right. Let's go back to the phones at 800-222-5222 and begin with Jose in Cudahy. Jose, hello.
All right. Hello, guys. First time caller. Pretty excited to call you guys. Actually kind of nervous. So, but I heard the Cudahy comment, and I've been living in Cudahy for over 10 years. My wife has been there for 40. And compared to what it used to be, gangs used to run that neighborhood crazy, dealing with Florencia, 18th Street, all those. And the work of the previous administrations, the police officers, the sheriffs, we have gotten rid of that where it's safe to walk down your neighborhoods. The cars don't get broken into. But just a comment that she made to empower those people that don't care who you are, that have the weaponry to come and protect their turf. To me, that was just disgusting. But I'm not surprised with this administration. It's just, it's very sad. It's sad to hear it, and it's infuriating because there's been a lot of hard work to get rid of all that mess, and now she's opening up the doors for these people to come back. And that's just not cool. I just wanted to voice that.
Okay, I got a question for you, sir, because some people have called in, and then when we've gone to them, they haven't come on the air to voice their concerns. But one of the issues her defenders or one of the arguments they're making is, well, she was just calling on them to get in the streets and protest and participate in the democracy. As someone who's lived there when the gigs were a problem, do they seem like people who want to participate in democracy to you, or do they have other ideas?
No, sir. I've never seen any of them go and vote, and you can tell who they are. But gone to vote every year, every election, citywide, nationwide, and they don't seem to be participating American citizens. So they're not going to come empty-handed when they come to that. And yeah, they're going to come to the rallies, but they're going to come with their own agenda, and that's true for anybody. I heard a story yesterday, if I may. Can I say something? Or maybe this is the opportunity for me to say it. It's pretty bad. I heard it from a local business owner that lives in the area that there are groups of people dressing as ICE agents or officers that are stopping people in the streets, and actually they are patting them down and taking their money. Either you want to get arrested or we're taking your money. So they're coming out full uniforms in the dark trucks, all, iced out or any kind of law enforcement. I know that kind of material dress attire is not hard to get, especially people that have money and connections. But that's what I heard yesterday, that there's people going around that were in the neighborhood yesterday, taking money from people on that one because they're scared. So they see people coming out of a truck, fully loaded, whatnot, and they're extorting them for their money to be free. So that's what I heard going on yesterday. So if you give people like that the opportunity to come and protect their turf, that's what they're going to do, protect their turf and make money on the side as well.
All right. Thank you so much for the call, sir. I appreciate it. That's going to do it for us today, but we'll be back tomorrow at noon for another edition of The John Phillips Show.